Hey, I'm Dusty.
And I'm Lori. And yes, we're going there.
Tough Topics is where we talk honestly about mental health. No fluff, no fake positivity.
Just real conversations, helpful tips, and the occasional awkward overshare.
Because let's be honest, we've all got stuff.
And you don't have to go through it alone.
This is Tough Topics, real talk to help you feel a little better, one episode at a time. Hi, welcome back to Tough Topics. It has been a while, but we are super glad to be back.
It's been a while. I missed this.
It has been such a busy few months.
I know.
Yeah, but this really is the highlight of my month or my week or whatever we're scheduling. So
me too.
We are super glad.
And then every time I get like really busy and stressed out, which seems to be often, and I'm like, what do I need to cut out? What do I need to cut out? And I think like, oh, the podcast. And I'm like, no, that's what I enjoy doing. That's what I love doing. That's what
that is a good point. Right. When we're evaluating those lists, we really do got to keep in the things that bring us joy.
Right.
Does that mean that we can get rid of all the things that don't bring us joy?
I think that is exactly what it means.
Done.
Is it Maria Kondo?
Yes.
Or something? Am I saying that right?
I know who you mean though.
Yeah.
Marie, like that she had the thing on Netflix, right? And you're supposed to like hold something. Does it bring you joy?
Yes.
And if it does, you keep it. And if you don't, you get rid of it. Well,
can we do that with other things?
Well, there are some things that
some things
do not bring
people?
me joy. Some people might be like, let me hold you near. Do not bring me joy. Out you go. Oh, well, it is true. We've got to find ways to find little glimmers of joy, right? Now, this is not what our topic is about today, but we will get to that. I saw something once, probably was a TikTok, maybe it wasn't, that said one of the best ways of making sure that you do have joy in your life is plan something every day consistently that you can look forward to. Now, so it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be like every day I'm going to go to my favorite coffee shop, right? It could be on the drive home from work. I'm not taking calls. I'm just going to listen to my favorite 90s rock radio station, right? But the point is to have it planned because then your brain automatically looks forward to it.
I love that. And I think we kind of talked about that on one of the previous episodes about putting stuff like that into your lifestyle.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
It's not about adding it. Who can add anything else in, right? It's about just incorporating it into your lifestyle.
Your lifestyle that already exists, right? We're already driving home from work or we're already drinking our coffee in the morning. Or maybe it's just that I buy my favorite creamer instead of the sugar-free flavor, whatever it is,
Yeah.
It's those
and
little
if you're
things.
already doing those things, celebrate those things.
Absolutely.
Take a really intentional.
Yeah. And not give up on our podcast.
Right. Okay. So we've made a commitment. We met before this and we've planned our schedule and our topics.
Yeah.
And I think we're actually going to do it more often.
Yeah.
Now that we feel like there's a little space in our lives, but it keeps every time we say that and then life says, hold my beer. And then
It does. And it just seems like that's, as we get older too, it's like it just speeds up. Like I was saying right before this to Richard, our friend, that my planner, I have a paper planner now because I'm 90 years old. And I do not like my electronic planner.
Either.
So I'm filled up in June easily. Like I'm scheduling mid-July at this point in time. And I hate that feeling. Yeah. Because then I don't feel like I'm in June. My mind is already in July.
That's how I've been too. My brain is fast forwarded at least 2-3 months at this time.
Well, and you have a lot of like events coming up, like family things, weddings and stuff. So that also makes sense.
That's one thing I was going to talk about too when we were kind of prepping about it needs to be a podcast topic. Like, can the good stuff, the joyful stuff, also be stressful? Because I think sometimes we think like, oh, this is a good thing. My daughter's getting married to a great guy and this is wonderful. But, the wedding prep and planning and all that stuff, it's okay if that's also stressful, even if you're really joyful and excited about it.
Right. It's an and.
Right.
Well, there's our thing, right? There's our and, right? That it can be stressful and we're really excited and we're joyful, right? Because it would be silly, like, because the opposite of that is what? Like the toxic positivity or whatever.
Right.
Like if we're like, oh, it's all sunshine and rainbows and I'm not exhausted at all and this is wonderful and I've never been so happy, that would be bullshit.
And maybe that leads to shrinking like, which is our topic for today, like shrinking yourself, shrinking in relationships. If you feel that it has to all be sunshine and rainbows and bullshit, that maybe that's really just you avoiding or shrinking.
Yeah.
You know, I never thought of that till you said that. When we were prepping for this, we talked about like shrinking or hiding in relationships, but you can also do that in situations.
Oh, for sure. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
In events, in situations.
Yes, yeah.
So
yeah. What a great segue. That's why
totally
Lori gets
unintentional.
paid the big bucks on this podcast. The $0. Just the whole $0. That was a great segue. It is true. That is what we're going to talk about.
Yes.
We were thinking about, for a long time, we've been planning on talking about this. And then
3 months we had this scheduled.
It's been crazy, right?
Yeah.
About how some of us or some people are more like predisposed to shrinking and what that means, what that looks like, yada, yada.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you first talked to me about potentially doing this subject, I was like, yeah, sounds great. I know I don't do that at all, ever. But I think it'd be helpful to talk about
for you folks.
Right. That problem that you guys have. And then as I started researching and reflecting and journaling about it, I'm like, hit me upside the head. I do this all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it is, again, not to be, you know, whatever, gender specific or whatever, but I do feel like most women do this, maybe even without even realizing it.
I think so too. It seems to be a very societal expectation. I was going to say norm, but it's like more than that. It's like, it's kind of like an expectation, right? So like, we know that it can cross genders, it can cross relationships, that kind of thing. But stereotypically speaking, I think that's where we're seeing it. That's where it stemmed from.
Be kind, be nurturing, be the good girl, be caring.
Don't cause a ruckus. Just go with the flow.
Yes.
Right.
I was thinking, okay, last week, and I can't even remember the question. My husband and I do the paired app where you like get asked a question each day and then you have to answer it to unlock your spouses. And I can't even remember what it was about. It was something maybe about overthinking or I don't know. And his answer was just like, nope. And I was like, really? Some people's brains don't just do that all the time.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I don't remember what the topic was or what the question was, but it just stood out to me that he really does not do that. He really does not struggle with that ever.
I think that, again, I don't know if it's only men, but like a lot of men, I do think that their brains are just peaceful little canvases. Okay, I'm debating.
Peaceful little canvases.
They're just like peaceful little blank canvases sometimes. Not that they're not thinking when they're like working. It's just that it's compartmentalized. Like, you know, like people say like a man's brain is more like a waffle. Like this is this and this is this. And women's brains are like spaghetti. Yeah. Well, this is tied to this. So I have to think about that and I have to think about that or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And I do think too, it's just like the chemical, biological difference between men and women.
Yeah.
Like someone said to me like several weeks ago, there's an actual study on this that women who had like young kids or like a young baby would get so upset with their husbands that they didn't hear the baby cry in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
But men really did not hear the baby cry.
Physically did not hear. Yeah.
Physically did not hear it. But if they hear a threat or an intruder outside, they're immediately awake.
That makes sense.
Like they're chemically wired for more of like the physical safety, the physical protection. And I have to be honest with you, I remember being frustrated about that too when our kids were babies. Like he's faking sleeping. He hears he really didn't. But you know what? I would probably not wake up if I heard an intruder outside.
Yeah.
But his physiology, biology, you know, so it's just
wired differently.
Yeah. So that's what we're kind of gearing this podcast today towards women because it typically is women that tend to shrink in relationships and stuff just because of those differences.
Yeah.
And again, I was like, no, I never do that. I can be pretty mouthy. I can be pretty direct. But I think what I do is that in different relationships and in different situations, I shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink. and then I get resentful and I kind of then get mouthy and sarcastic and sometimes maybe not very pleasant to be around. So,
which then maybe could leave you feeling like inconsistent or like where, like I never yelled much at my kids, right? But then, I would do the like, come on, guys. No, really, guys. No, I'm serious, guys. Come on, guys. And then like after 37 times of that, I am like, if I have to say one more freaking time, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, Mom, why are you yelling?
Right.
Why are you crazy?
So grouchy all the time?
But it's kind of like that, right? Like if you if you're quiet. Yeah.
And I think too, like women do typically handle the like household and emotional labor in the family and kind of we're sort of like the family Google that, your kids probably text you like, what's Christian doing tonight? And you're like, I have no idea. Just ask Christian. I'm the one handling the communication and emotional stuff all the time.
Which could really lead to like even like almost like a natural shrinking, right? Like where there's just so many other things that's expected, right? Or so many other things that's on your mental load, right? That other parts have to go away. And some of those other parts might feel like your authentic self or your desire to take time for yourself or your creativity or something like that. Yeah.
That is when I find that I shrink or avoid the most is when I'm just really tired, really stressed out, really burned out. Because doing it different. We try to like go with the flow, right? But having those tougher conversations or setting up a more direct boundary does take mental effort, work, energy. And sometimes you're like, it's just easier to say, fine, whatever, forget it.
It can be really scary too. Because let's say, so a TikTok that I saw said, men defend and women disappear, which I think is where this idea came from, right? And so like, let's say you are, your spouse hurt your feelings, right? And you do muster up the plan. You're going to talk to him right when he gets home from golfing because he'll be happy. And you have a whole plan, right? So you go to him and you say, hey, babe, like this thing happened and it really hurt my feelings. And I'm thinking that maybe next time we could handle it this way. What are your thoughts? And in his natural disposition, or if we're saying gender in this assumption, right, is to defend his point, right? That puts us in a position that either we defend back, right? Or we agree with, I suppose would be another one, or we just step back, right? And I think that that's where we see it in so many marriages, at least, right?
Yes.
And it could be same-sex marriages too. I haven't had one of those, don't know how that works, but I know that this was specific, men and women, right? Where then little by little, so then like, let's say I still come back and I'm like, he's like, no, that's not what I meant. I don't know what you're talking about. You're taking that out of context, whatever. Let's say I still come back and I'm like, no, I totally get it that you might not have meant that. And I totally get it that this might feel foreign to you, but that's why I wanted to talk about it, just so that you would know, like I'm not mad, whatever. I don't even know if we would need to say that. Because as I say that, isn't that part of shrinking?
Yeah.
Right?
I wonder if it is too.
That's part of shrinking.
Is it okay to just say this made me mad?
I know, that's right. So see, I'm still like tiptoeing around it, right? But I'm thinking like in that example, he still might defend again.
Yeah.
And then what am I going to do is I'm just going to step back then. I'll be like, never mind. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Never mind. Whatever. Right.
Yeah.
And then after that happens over and over, it teaches our system that we're not emotionally safe.
Right.
Which is, obviously that's like a huge issue in any relationship.
Right. And then that creates a neural network. That's the relationship blueprint in your brain. And that can repeat into other relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
Friendships,
right.
Boss, coworker, parent, child, whatever that looks like, that your brain doesn't necessarily do a great job of specifying that relationship. It generalizes.
Yeah.
In relationships, I have to be the, go with the flow. Everything's fine. I really think that's an avoidant part. That's where it comes out for me.
Sure.
Like if I really sit down and reflect and dial it down, I'm like, I'm honestly just avoiding my feelings.
Yeah.
I'm avoiding having this difficult conversation. I'm avoiding even admitting that it's even an issue.
Sure. It could be lots of parts, right? I mean, that definitely rings true, right? I'm thinking in some of my examples of this, for me, I think sometimes it was a shamed part, right? Like I've had partners that would just say, that's not how it was. You're
too sensitive.
You're too sensitive. I don't know what's wrong with you. Why, this is your shit. You should figure that out and get back to me.
Right.
Super great partners there. but then of course that would activate the shame part. That's like, maybe I am too sensitive, right? I'm and that comes from childhood, right? I was always told that I was soft-hearted. I was such a crier. I would cry.
Me too. Okay. I got called a ball baby.
Did you?
Such a ball baby.
But see now, how would that impact you if you went to your husband and you cried about something and he was like, oh my gosh, you're crying again? It could really trigger that.
Right. All that stuff comes forward, right? Your central nervous system doesn't know the difference between then and now. It all comes forward.
No. And there are plenty of people in that situation could go to fight or flight. They might be like, shut up. It doesn't, blah, blah, blah. Right. And some people go to shrinking little by little.
Yeah.
Or disappearing, which really is a form of abandoning ourselves, right? We're definitely not in our most authentic self as we're disappearing.
Right.
In our relationships.
And I do think too, I kind of always reflect on these things. Certain situations and certain relationships, there's different categories for those, right? So like that, I sent you that Instagram post or whatever that said, for every time someone's asked you how you are and you said, I'm fine, before you've really checked in with yourself and really determined whether or not you're fine. Well, how everyone's politically correct response is, I'm good. How are you today? Right?
Sure. Absolutely.
And part of that is socially acceptable. Right. It makes sense. Like the clerk at Hy-Vee says, hi, ma'am, how are you today? You're not going to be like, well, actually.
Exactly. You might not start crying right
and
there.
We've had this happen to us.
Yes. Because the minute people find out you're a therapist, they take that question seriously.
Yes.
They say, well, actually, let me tell you about my teenager.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. No, I agree. Obviously, there's going to be moments, right? But I think what we're thinking is where you're showing up the most, right? Like, it's really important to not be disappearing, obviously, right? Because otherwise what happens, right? You live your life, you become, you're 40, 50 years old, the kids are gone, whatever, the house is empty, whatever. And your partner thinks you guys have a stellar relationship because it's been pretty peaceful.
Right.
You've never brought up any concerns because when you did, they weren't unheard. You don't fight, everything just runs smoothly. And you feel like the shell of a person.
Yes.
Like you think, I don't even know who I am. So do I recreate myself? Is this a midlife crisis? Right. And then sometimes the partners are just left baffled. They're, what? I'm shocked, right? But I think that this could be one of those causes,
Absolutely. I think that is exactly what it can lead to is that loss of self-identity.
Yeah,
because sure. Again, you're not even checking in with yourself.
Right.
Even if you're not to the point where you feel safe or you feel ready to have the conversation, if you're not, that's why I kept saying like the avoidant part too. Yeah. Like if you're not even like acknowledging it for yourself, you just completely lose any sense of identity.
True. Yeah. And then that makes it really hard to maneuver in the future. Let's say you come to that crossroads and you're like, I don't feel like this is my life. I'm not feeling authentic, whatever. But because it's chipped away for so long, you might not even know where to start.
What's that saying? Like the frog in the boiling water? Like you don't realize, he doesn't realize the temperature is getting turned up. This is kind of like
so
that.
Gradual. Yeah. And then he's just dead.
Yeah. Again, my favorite thing that you always say is we're creating awareness. We're creating awareness. Because I always go to, okay, how do we fix it? Let's get to the fix it part, right? But in reflecting on today's topic and doing my own research and stuff, I've decided that, yes, I do shrink in certain relationships. I do shrink in certain situations. What do I want to do about it? And sometimes the relationship is worth the difficult conversations. and working through it. And sometimes it's okay to just say, I don't really think I need to give this person a whole lot of access to my life anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. As you were talking and you said that I always say, we're just creating awareness, which is true. I wonder if that's an avoidant part. Could it be where it sounds really lovely, but it doesn't sound very actiony?
Well, I think it comes down to intention.
Intent, yes.
Is your intent to really identify and create awareness and process a struggle, or is it let's put a Band-Aid over it and just call
kick the can down the road?
Yes.
It could be, depending on the subject.
Right.
But yes, to your point, definitely depends on the relationship, and where can we practice this in safe zones, like I've said again, I think probably many times, like my daughter has a best friend from school, like middle school or something. They've been best friends forever. And they just have this deal, this very clear deal that if they've ever made plans, but one's just not feeling like going, they just can let the other one know. Yep. Right. They just say, hey, I've just had a busy weekend and I really just want to veg for a while. Can we grab dinner next week instead or something? And they both are on the same, they both have given each other like this permission to not disappear, to show up authentically. And then there's no resentment. There's no, someone showing up and not really wanting to be there and acting weird. There's no anger. And I think that could be such a lovely practice in relationships that feel safe.
Right.
Yeah. And now granted, friendships, we don't have like the day in and day out as we might like with our spouses.
Right. It's not the constant interaction.
Right. So it's probably easier to not disappear as much. Sure. But a great place to practice.
But I think with your daughter and her friend, that speaks to they've had that conversation.
Yes, yeah.
They've decided we're going to have the type of friendship where there's no pressure.
Yeah.
If you don't, because how often does this happen? And I think this might even be a case study in the book Codependent No More. But the author of the book had plans to go apple picking with a friend. And she just had a lot going on and she was exhausted and she really did not want to go to the apple orchard. Mm-hmm. And she was back and forth. No, I really should just go. I made this commitment to my friend. And I think that she at that point had decided like, nope, I don't have the capacity for it. I'm not going to do this. And called her friend and said, you know what? I just cannot go apple picking today. And her friend said, oh, thank God. I really didn't want to go either. I'm feeling maxed out too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you like Jazz and her friend, like if you set the stage that we're going to have this type of relationship, then that creates that safety.
Absolutely. Right.
And you and I did that. Last time we were going to record the podcast, we were literally in the parking lot and something came up on my end and you were like, we can cancel it. And I'm like, no, we can power through. It's only an hour. And you're like, it's not worth it. Like, let's just reschedule. We'll get back to it.
Right.
And that now you've created that safety. Now that can go both ways, right?
Yeah. Well, and even the power through part really is a really strong part for a lot of us. This is, it's fine. I can just, especially us therapists, right? Because we might be having a really tough day, but a client's coming in and we have to be like, okay, how's it going? Whatever, right?
That is hard.
But that is a way of our self disappearing by allowing the power through part and self-abandoning again. Right. Yeah. And we know that it can't just be all the time. I can't not show up to work every day. I don't feel like it. Right. And be like, I'm being honoring of myself. We get that. Right.
Right. It's not an excuse.
No, but it's just truth. Right. We're acknowledging, creating awareness.
Creating
around
it. Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the key. And again, I just love your example of Jazz and her friend. Mm-hmm. The relationships that are important to you, that are worth investing in, maybe just have those conversations and hey, if we have plans and you're not feeling it, it's okay to dip out. And the most important conversation is with yourself. Like if there's something that is really, I just feel like I can't power through. Yeah. I'm going to start loving myself enough to say, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. I'm not going to worry about that.
Yeah. That is exactly what it comes down to, right? Like loving ourselves, which again is a great segue for this book. Look at, she's so smart. So there is a couple books that I brought. This one is called I Love Me More by Jenna Banks. full disclosure, it took me a while to get into it. I had lots of eye roll moments because of my own crap, not because the book wasn't good.
Yeah.
And it's definitely more in terms of romantic relationships, of course, right? It's definitely more about like when you find yourself in a relationship that maybe you are disappearing a lot, or maybe you're feeling pressured to disappear, right? And just kind of how to go about that. And then what all of this is kind of talking about, which I'm sure we've talked about on here before, is our fawning response. You know, which, and so I might have already talked about this book, but if not, I will highly talk about this book called Are You Mad at Me? And this is about the fawning response in any, like in really any capacity, right? And kind of finding that balance between fawning, standing up for yourself, but also understanding there are sometimes that, you know, we do have to be quiet. You know, if my boss is calling me into his office because I messed up on a project and I'm just like, yep, I understand, I'll do better. That's not necessarily fawning. That's just, I'm in trouble. Right. But finding this in the relationships that matter to us.
And I think too, like in your example about the boss calling you into his office, like, and also if that's legitimate, like if you honestly did goof up, then yes, you know, own it. But if you're kind of the scapegoat for somebody else's crap at work, then you may be shrinking by taking that on.
Absolutely. Yeah. That is absolutely true. Like sometimes people just have jerks for leaders, for bosses or whatever. People, and then you don't have to take that on. Yeah.
So the antidote to shrinking is maybe self-compassion, self-love. So maybe next time we need to talk about that. Because those are great topics, right?
Yeah.
But how do you do it? How do you get there? How do you Kristen Neff. She has the great research on self-compassion. So maybe we should talk about that next time as like a follow-up to this.
Yeah. And I think that goes really hand in hand. And I don't know, chicken or egg, which comes first, right? But you have to know yourself. You have to really spend the time to get to know yourself. Yeah. Kind of like you were saying, if somebody asks how you are, even just taking a moment and checking in, like, how am I? You know, actually, I'm feeling a little frazzled today. Instead of immediately going to the response that I think somebody wants. So you get to know yourself and extend that love and compassion.
Yep. And when you practice it, it becomes more reflexive. It becomes more readily available.
Yeah. I think so. I had a book that I almost pulled off of my shelf to bring here today called Radical Acceptance. Isn't that a good Kristen Neff?
I'm not sure. I don't know. To look it up.
But that really is about accepting ourselves, right? Like, and getting to know ourselves too. So that's a journey all on its own.
Yeah, write that down too, if you don't mind. We need to do it.
Radical.
We're getting all kinds of ideas just
from ourselves.
Going off topic.
Exactly. We do lots of tangents really well.
So maybe that's the good homework assignment for this episode is just the first step of checking in with yourself.
Yeah.
How am I? How am I really?
Yeah.
And then of course the next step is what might I need, you know, but the first step is always, let me check in with myself. Let me see how I actually am doing.
Yeah. And do so just curiously, right? Because if you're anything like me, if I go and say, I'm like, how am I? I have about 1 million parts that come up and have an opinion about that, right? So if I say, well, how am I? Okay. Well, I'm feeling a little stressed. Well, what do you have to be stressed about? Well, I don't know. I mean, traffic was kind of crazy and my week is really busy and I didn't get the coffee that I wanted. And then I have a part that's like, oh my gosh, how ridiculous because you didn't get your coffee. You're going to tell everybody that you're stressed. Are you really that stressed? Don't you remember that I'm a product of the 80s. Don't you know that there are children starving in Africa? Right. But just keep in mind, we're just noticing because if you're like me and maybe you're not, you might have lots of things. Like I have a really strong gaslighting part that gaslights myself.
Me too.
That I'm just like, well, you really don't need to feel stressed. Are you kidding me? Like, it's really not that big of a deal. And I'm like, and then I will feel something different. So, So notice and just be curious.
Notice and just be curious.
Notice without the judgment. And then that leads perfectly into our radical acceptance book that we're going to talk about in a future podcast.
Yes. And remind me, because I'll be like, what are we talking about next time?
I know. Look, this is my notes that I will lose between now and then. So we should text each other. Then it's like a record.
There you go. Perfect.
Anyway.
And then I'll lose the text. I can't find the text from 2 months ago. What are we supposed to be doing?
I really hope somebody is going to be like you guys. Like what you should, we could do like a Google Doc or something. Like someone help us. Someone save us.
Yes.
So,
leave it in the comments. Please help us structure our chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. In the meantime, if you need anything whatsoever or have an idea or you have a question or something set wrong or maybe set a little too good for you, we're always open to, questions, comments, ideas on any of our platforms.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. See you next time.
Before we go, don't forget to connect with us on social.
We're on Instagram and Facebook at Tough Topics. That's TUFFTOPIX.
Follow, like, share, all that good stuff, and let us know what topics you want us to cover next.
Because real talk doesn't stop here. It keeps going in the comments.